They're engaging even in an eco-type of terrorism whereby they can alter the climate, set off earthquakes, volcanoes remotely through the use of electromagnetic waves. There are plenty of ingenious minds out there that are at work finding ways in which they can wreak terror upon other nations. It's real, folks, and that's the reason why we have to intensify our efforts about weather warfare. That was said by William S. Colby, Defense Secretary, back in April of 1997. Would you believe that? Oh my God.
Project Cumulus was a 1950s UK government initiative to investigate weather manipulation, in particular through cloud seeding experiments. Known internally as Operation Witch Doctor, the project was operational between 1949 and 1952. And as an important side note, on August 16, 1952, a severe flood occurred in the town of Lynmouth in North Devon. 9 inches or 229 millimeters of rain fell within 24 hours. 90 million tons of water swept down the narrow valley into Lynmouth, and the East Lynn River rose rapidly and burst its banks. 35 people died, and many buildings and bridges were seriously damaged. According to the BBC, North Devon experienced 250 times the normal August rainfall in 1952. A conspiracy theory, as it was called, circulated that the flood was caused by secret cloud seeding experiments conducted by the Royal Air Force. Back then, the theory was dismissed as preposterous by writer Philip Eden. Newly declassified documents reported on by The Guardian show that such experiments were being conducted in the same time period in the same location. Weather modification via cloud seeding has a long history in perennial dry Southern California. Santa Barbara County has been cloud seeding with both ground-based machines and dedicated cloud seeding airplanes since the 1980s. In 2016, Los Angeles County rebooted its cloud seeding program with ground-based machines for the first time after 2002. Yearly uninterrupted cloud seeding programs have been going on since the 1950s all around California. PG&E, or Pacific Gas and Electric Company, has been cloud seeding for nearly 60 years, both in Northern and Central California. And according to them, they say, we do it to help supplement the snowpack, which benefits with more hydroelectric power. They also say the other benefits include more water for grazing, for forests, and other uses. According to their own documentation, officials at PG&E say they generate about 5% more snowfall over the entire season. Not only are they producing clean, renewable energy, it's economical as well. They say the additional hydropower generated far outweighs the cost of cloud seeding. This map right here shows more than 150 weather modification programs operating in 37 countries worldwide. Weather modification techniques include hail suppression and precipitation enhancement. This map right here shows regions in the western United States engaged in precipitation enhancement and hail suppression. UCAR, the University Corporation for Atmospheric Research, is a nonprofit consortium of more than 100 North American member colleges and universities focused on research and training in the atmospheric and related Earth system sciences. UCAR manages the National Center for Atmospheric Research with sponsorship by the National Science Foundation. An October 2015 article from Bloomberg Businessweek entitled Weather on Demand, Making It Rain is Now a Global Business, with the subtitle Welcome to the Strange World of Cloud Seeding, said this: the man who's brought cloud seeding to 31 countries on 6 continents works out of an unassuming airfield in North Dakota. Patrick Sweeney is 63, with thick silver hair and the compact build of a wrestler. There are 34 private companies worldwide that do weather modification, but there's no bigger rival in aerial cloud seeding than the Chinese government. Weather as a force multiplier. Owning the Weather in 2025 is the actual name of a research paper presented to the Air Force in 1996. It's labeled as a research paper presented to Air Force 2025. The disclaimer reads, 2025 is a study designed to comply with the directive from the Chief of Staff of the Air Force to examine the concepts and technologies the United States will require to remain the dominant air and space force in the future.
We shall propose further cooperative efforts between all the nations in weather prediction, and eventually in weather control, and eventually in weather control, and eventually in weather control.
It lays the predicate and the foundation for the development of a weather satellite that will permit man to determine the world's cloud layer and ultimately to control the weather, and he who controls the weather will control the world. To control the weather, and he who controls the weather will control the world. To control the weather, and he who controls the weather will control the world.
Didn't you think it was funny that the ozone holes were always over the poles and not over Los Angeles, where everybody's using hairspray and all the CFCs are going up into the atmosphere? How stupid!
In the wake of a shocking new climate report that was released this week, warnings of dire consequences for humanity in it, more than 1,000 scientists protested around the world today, including a top climate scientist at NASA.
Yeah, Peter Kalamas was arrested this week for civil disobedience after chaining himself to a Chase Bank entrance in Los Angeles. Kalamas and scientists around the world are in a desperate bid to save the planet and convince leaders to drastically cut carbon emissions. The latest UN report warns that the civilized world is nowhere near on track to meet the CO2 emission goals.
We're going to lose everything, and we're not joking. We're not lying. We're not exaggerating. This is so bad, everyone, that we're willing to take this risk.
NASA's official stance on climate change is that carbon dioxide from human activity is increasing 250 times faster from natural sources.
One last thing before we go. They're the hottest jerseys in the NBA, and now they're back in the Valley.
Warnings of dire consequences for humanity in it. Warnings of dire consequences for humanity in it. More than 1,000 scientists protested around the world today, including a top climate scientist at NASA. Warnings of dire consequences for humanity in it. More than 1,000 scientists protested around the world today, including a top climate scientist at NASA.
Yeah, Peter Kalamas was arrested this week for civil disobedience after chaining himself to a Chase Bank entrance in Los Angeles.
We're going to lose everything, and we're not joking. We're not lying. We're not exaggerating. This is so bad, everyone. We're going to lose everything, and we're not joking. We're not lying. We're not exaggerating. This is so bad, everyone.
Looks like the mood. Looks like the mood. Looks like the mood.
Well, well, well. We are indeed back again. Who'd have thought it, right? Friday night. Hopefully, I am indeed live. Now, I have got another screen tonight, so I believe we are indeed rolling. And my intro there, I don't know if you heard at the end, my son Billy, he said about the sun, it looks like the moon. And it did look like a bit like the moon behind the clouds, so I thought I would put that in. And yeah, good evening, good afternoon, good night, good morning, whatever it may be, wherever you are in this absolutely insane world that we are in. Yikes. Where do you even begin, right? Honestly, tonight, geoengineering. No good news to report when it comes to geoengineering, unfortunately. But like always, a bit of a relaxed affair, right? Nothing major, but we'll say hello and then let me think. We'll say hello and then we'll look at a few different slides, and in particular, an article, and then a wee bit in regards to a book. And then there's, well, to be honest, when it comes to geoengineering, you would be here for about a week talking about it. Honestly, it is insane. And kind of going out on a limb a wee bit, but it's going to happen. In my own opinion, it is already happening, but by their own movement, they're going to bring it forward. This geoengineering program, likely the stratospheric injection, among other sort of solutions. Yay! We're so lucky, right? It's because they really care about us. We're lucky that we've got entities like NASA. Yay! Hooray for NASA! Let's have 3 cheers for NASA, right? Quick, get them off. Yeah, could you imagine? I remember about, it must have been about in 2016, maybe 2017, possibly. I'm unsure. A while ago, anyway. I done a video. Well, I had made a short video basically, and it was a SpaceX. I think it might have been a SpaceX launch, and then it basically showed you a control room where it had all these SpaceX employees, I'd imagine, celebrating. Yay! We sent a rocket into the sky. Hooray! And there must have been about, I don't know, 100, maybe 200 people, and not one of them was a female. It was all male. And my conclusion basically was that it was a CGI crowd, basically. And it had a lot of strange movement in it. So I think they might have faked that. I might dig it out in the future, because SpaceX now basically is another branch of NASA. That's pretty much it. I think NASA are live right now. I think the astronauts that we touched on the other day, I think they're coming home. Yay! You're coming home from the zero gravity aeroplane that they've been in, or the film set, right? Seemingly they've been in the ISS. I think they might be live. We might go, if we get time, we might go to NASA live and see what the script is, right? Always good for a laugh, NASA, honestly. Oh my God, comical. So we're going to say hello. Let me jump in the comments if I can manage it. We are indeed live here in the rolling hills of Murrayshire, in the northeast of bonny Scotland. Where else would you rather be, right? Beautiful landscape, golden beaches, golden sand beaches. It's the wildlife is astonishing. It's beautiful. For me personally, there's no better, right? But I guess I would say that with staying here, right? You've got to rep your end, right? Let's go with that. A dog named Boo. There we go. Where did you go? First in the door tonight, a dog named Boo. Good to see you back again. And Wendy B. Good to see you as well. Back again. Spanish Chicken. And yeah, who does not enjoy Spanish chicken? It's fantastic. Let's not start talking about food. We could be here for a while, right? And it always makes you hungry as well. Do you know if you ever start talking about food, in about 20 minutes of talking about food, yeah, I'm going to make something to eat. Or if you watch a video on something being made, you think, yeah, I'm going to make, is that only me? MK Ultrad from the food video. Maybe it's just me. But we'll say hello and then we'll look at a few bits. Let me know if the audio's all right, because we're a few things different tonight, setting wise, environment wise, if you like. So yeah, hopefully we're good. Wendy, Richard as well. My brother Richard, good to see you back again. Bill as well, my American brother. Good to see you, my friend. Spitfire Red. Yep, good to see you back again. Dave A, a long term and regular. Good to see you back again. James, is it? Yep, good to see you, brother. And who else did I see there? Lee, Redpath. Good to see you as well, Lee. Great stuff. Did I miss anyone there? Probably did. Yep, I see that I did. Frank, how could I miss Frank, right? Frank, the information tank. Yeah, it wouldn't be That's Life, but not as we know it, without Frank being in the comments, keeping us right. So it's good to see Frank back again, right? Yeah, great stuff. Yeah, NASA Live, right? Maybe it'll be cut off. Technical issue. I'm unsure. It might be finished by the time we get round to it, but I don't know. We'll see how we get on. Good to see Frank back again. And yeah, I think that's it. Great stuff. And the audio's good, seemingly, Richard. Fantastic. Good to see you back again. Spanish chicken. Yeah, we're good to go. It's either not good or too loud, the audio. So what can you do? You can't win, right? You simply can't win. And of course, you've got me banging about, jumping about in the chair, getting animated. Oh, man. But a lot of the stuff, it does get you animated. I mean, when it comes to geoengineering and solar radiation management, yeah, that gets my blood boiling, to be honest, because it shouldn't even be considered. Honestly, it should not even be considered. But from what I can see, it is going to go ahead big time. And we're going to get into it a bit more. So good to see everyone in the hood tonight. And hopefully you caught the intro. And I think one of the clips might have been the guy from the flicks. I can't remember the name now. It's not a guy I'm that keen on, but that was quite a good video. I got it on the Internet Archive. But we're going to get into geoengineering. And has anyone heard about climate fiction? Not science fiction, but climate fiction. Has anyone read any climate fiction novels of late? Probably not, right? Probably not. Although maybe some of you have. We'll touch on that for a wee bit as well. This dystopian fantasy. Could we call it that? High impact flicks, that's the one. Yeah, the guy's not too bad, but I think RV destroyed him as well. So that was quite interesting. But what can you do, right? Each to their own, I guess. I just try and get on with it myself and let people do what they've got to do. But there is certainly a lot of controlled opposition out there. I mean, there's got to be, right? There has to be. There's just got to be. In every movement that there is infiltration from, I don't know, the Secret Service, MI5, the 77th Brigade, if you want to call it that. And of course, there's got to be these sort of people that, I guess people call them gatekeepers as well. And one of them's been in the news quite a lot lately. I mean, that guy, I don't know how people could even think that he's not controlled opposition. Do people know who I'm talking about? He's in the media quite a lot at the moment. I think he got a heavy fine, right? So many infiltrators. Yeah, there is. Exactly. I mean, there's got to be as well. So there has to be. And there has to be. And of course, yeah, it's Alex Jones. Ah, man, cracks me up. You know what cracks me up? How anyone can think that Jones is not controlled opposition. And I guess, yeah, a lot of them who do think that Donald Trump is not controlled opposition, and that's quite comical. I shouldn't laugh, but I mean, come on, right? Alex Jones, since he came onto the scene and he got destroyed by Bill Cooper, he's been telling people that his dad, I believe he said his dad, was in the CIA. Do I need to say any more than that? I don't think we need to even say any more. In the interview that he done with Bill Cooper, quite interesting actually. Some of the questions that he asked Bill, he almost set Bill up for Bill sort of manipulating Bill into saying certain things, like he wouldn't be taken alive and he would be taken out. He would take anyone out. We might get into that in the future even. Bill Cooper and Alex Jones. That's quite an interesting one. Certainly one we could get into, but I mean, Jones is, come on. I don't know how anyone could fall for it, to be honest. But there you go. Hey, maybe I'm wrong, right? Man, I've never been I don't think there's anyone at InfoWars that I've really liked, to be honest. Thinking way back, I think there was one guy, an older guy, who I maybe thought was quite good. I'm forgetting his name. It was that long, but even if it was last week, I'd probably forget. I'm forgetting the guy's name. I'm wanting to say Duke, but I don't know if that's it. It's probably not, but I thought there was one guy who might have maybe been classed as a journalist, but I had no hope for InfoWars, and I think you're seeing their true colours as well at the moment. David Knight, yeah, I think it might have been him. Frank might have got it. I think it was David Knight. That's going back a bit, though, to be honest. And I think if you can't see what's going on at the moment with the court case in the Alex Jones situation, you're not seeing it. You're not getting it. If you can't see what's going on with that, you simply are not getting it yet. And maybe you will in time, but of course it's a complete orchestrated situation. And of course, yeah, they're going to make an example out of Jones, the controlled op. Probably the plan for quite a long time. But they use these agents for many different things, of course. Like we talked about Tony Blair, although he's not a similar character to Jones, he's another guy that they roll out from time to time to spout whatever agenda they've got, whatever narrative it is. And somehow some people do listen. But there you go. I mean, what did he get fined again? It was an obscene amount of money, right? It's quite comical, a complete farce, the whole lot. I don't know how anybody could even buy it, to be honest. We might get into Jones in the future, but there's not much else to say, to be honest, apart from I wouldn't be listening to the guy. Of course, people can do whatever they want, but he's not for me. Just nope. Just I'm trying to think who else possibly could be controlled opposition. Someone put, is it Mark Segan? Someone's put in the chat. I've got two screens and I'm still struggling with the comments. How does that even happen? I've overcomplicated it now. Oh, man. Did someone say Mark Segan? I'm unsure. To be honest, I'm unsure if Marx is controlled opposition. I hope he's not. Because Marx is one of the guys that I've followed from way back. And like everyone, you take it on board, but you take it all with a pinch of salt. It's not the be-all and end-all. You've got to make your own conclusions, not take it from just one person, one source. But I'm unsure. I mean, you could never say for certain. That's why I think it's unfair sometimes calling people these sort of things. But when it comes to Alex Jones, he could be the number one controlled opposition, to be honest. But hey, it's anyone's guess. You'd have to take it. In my own sort of way of working, I kind of go with my gut instinct. But I guess we can all be tricked. We can all be fooled, right? Unfortunately. So I don't know. I always go with my gut feeling and what I think about someone. You can kind of tell. There's a big difference between the likes of Alex Jones and Marx Egan, although they could have different agendas, I suppose. You'd never know. But I kind of like Marx, so I'm hoping not. I think I might have started following Marx in about 2014. And I believe it might have been because of the Richie Allen show, if I remember correctly. But that's going back a bit. It doesn't feel like that long ago, 2014. But for my memory, it is a long time ago, unfortunately. So let me see if I can work. I want to do a live stream on Harp as well, just Harp alone, because it needs its own live stream. It's so vast. We might touch on it a wee bit tonight while we are here. So does anyone remember when weather control was a conspiracy theory? Don't be stupid. They can't control the weather. It's water vapor. It's not chemtrails. Don't be silly. What have you been smoking, right? It's totally natural. It's fine. Don't worry about it. It's blocking out the sun. Don't worry. Stop looking up at the sky all day, right? There's nothing to worry about. Sure. Let's go with that. How long have people here been kind of taking note of chemtrails? In what year do you reckon you started thinking, wait a minute, that's that's not quite what they tell us it is? I think for me personally, It's a tough one, actually. But maybe from about 2010, 2011, 2012. I would say from about then. And a lot of people that I knew, no one really bothered or took note, to be honest. Even about maybe 2 years ago, not many people took note or said very much about it. But I think today it's a wee bit different. I think people are beginning to say, hey, wait a second, right? 2014, Spanish chicken. Yeah, that's interesting. See, that could be round about similar to myself. I mean, I think throughout the past few decades, they've been ramping it up big time. $2015. Yeah, interesting. I don't think many people were speaking about it before, say, the year 2000. Although you did get people phoning up the Bill Cooper hour of the time and saying, talking about spraying chemicals, and Bill Cooper dismissed it as complete nonsense. I mean, hey, who am I to judge? But I think it's a mistake to dismiss anything whatsoever. You can dismiss it at your peril, but Bill Cooper was very dismissive of it, which was it was up to him. But for me personally, I think today it's undeniable, completely undeniable. And Frank said 2018. Yeah, researching Greta's summer tour speech. That would have been fun, that, right? Man, that must have been a barrel of laughs. Although I think Greta, I mean, she's another puppet that they roll out from time to time, much like them all the agenda puppets. Poor Greta is probably just another victim of the hidden hand, who probably doesn't even know any better. But I think she might have said that she was against geoengineering. I'm sure she did. But in the same breath, she's still lock, stock, and barrel an agenda puppet, big time. And yeah, that must have been interesting, that, Greta. I've not heard much about her lately, to be honest. In Aberystwyth. I can't even pronounce it. Don't, right? I think they can set up HARP anywhere, to be honest. I don't think it would take very much for them to achieve it. Achieve their weather manipulation via HARP techniques. I don't think it would take very much, but they do have it scattered right across the globe. HARP's playing a major part in the weather currently, and of course you've got the already spraying. Of course they say they're not doing it, but who are they trying to kid, right? But of course now they are saying, oh, we are going to start doing it. Shock horror. And like I said, yeah, remember when it used to be a conspiracy theory, right? To control the weather. Sure. So, good evening to everyone. Justine, a dog named Boo, Frank as well, Wendy. Is it Luke in the hood? Good to see you as well. Joining the Dots UK. Good to see you back again. We're going to look at a few slides now. So what I'm going to do is see if I can remember how to work it. We'll get rid of the comment and we'll get rid of me. That tends to work better when I'm not here. A lot better. We will get back to the comments as well. I'll try and keep an eye on them. But you know what I'm like. Terrible. What can you do, right? NASA. Of course, NASA. We could never do a geoengineering stream without mentioning NASA. Are they not a weather? No, sorry. A space agency. No, you were right. They're a weather agency. That's my opinion on NASA. They're a weather agency. That's pretty much it. They don't go to space. Possibly a film agency as well. I could maybe stretch to that one. An extension of Hollywood, possibly. But mainly, they would appear to be a weather agency. And I see Justine is in the hood as well. Our good friend, Justine, the mother of the community, right? Always keeping us right, keeping us straight. Great to see you back again. So yeah, we'll get into it a wee bit. I think I've seen Plain Steve as well in the hood, but I can't find him anymore. He's taken off and flown into the distance, Plain Steve. But hopefully he can catch us later on. I will get back into the chat in a sec, but we'll have a look now. I'm unsure as to how many times we've touched on geoengineering now. I mean, oh man, quite a few times. Possibly into the 20s. More, maybe. I think since I started content creation, we have at least talked about the spraying, right? That old conspiracy theory. But today, in comparison to when I started, it is in full swing. The constant spraying, plus the plan for solar radiation management, along with other geoengineering techniques that they've got, including big giant mirrors in the sky. You'd think I'd made that one up, right? Oh, he's making that one up. They're not going to put big mirrors in the sky. Yes, they are. I remember thinking, I think I might have said actually, about a year ago when we discussed the solutions, the so-called solutions, and we talked about the giant mirror in the sky. Oh man, I mean, it's absolutely comical. We talked about that. I thought, well, I can't see it happening. I don't think they'll do it. To be honest, see now, I wouldn't rule it out. I think they probably will. That could be something they revert to when solar radiation management goes a bit, I don't know, unintended. Well, excuse me, as I burp. And it's interesting when they talk about the unintended consequences of geoengineering, the drought, the flooding, the severe weather events, like the ones we're seeing now. Yeah, like them. Like them ones, right? Funny that, because I think they've been spraying for how long now? Yeah. But that would be a conspiracy theory, of course. One of the main things that tells you geoengineering is going to go ahead, the spraying will go ahead, is the people who are behind it. Everyone that is bad news is behind it, including entities like the White House, the American government, the United Nations, NASA, the UK government, all the good guys, right? We're so lucky. And of course, you've got entities like Bill Gates, the wee Rockefeller. Yeah, I guess we should be thankful, excuse me, for all these entities and puppets that we get. Oh man, it's quite unreal. So, this came out the other day, the 13th of October. Unlucky for some. Is 13 anyone's lucky number? Has anyone got a lucky number here? I don't really have a lucky number. I've got a favourite number, possibly, which would be probably 15. That would have to be it. But numbers tend to confuse me, so I stay away from them, right? So when you've got the White House behind anything, you know that it's good, it's great, fantastic. What can go wrong? Hooray, the White House. All hail the American government. Yeah. In October. Friday, the 13th, would it have been? Or no, that would have been yesterday. Thursday, the 13th. Clean tech is the heading. Ah, man. Clean tech. Oh, my God. Honestly. Clean tech. Clean. Geoengineering. Clean. I've heard it all now. Clean tech. There you go. So, White House is pushing ahead research to cool Earth by reflecting back sunlight. Hooray! 3 cheers for the White House, right? Yeah. And you know, if geoengineering or sun reflection artificially is news to anyone, it shouldn't be. Where have you been? In fact, we don't want to know. Don't tell us, right? But it's not new news. It has been in the pipeline. People have been warning us now for a long time. And when this does get rolled out eventually, the spraying will be tenfold, if not more. Quite hard to imagine, really, because it won't be good, put it that way. And for the life of me, I can't see how it could ever work, given the system of weather that we have. If you spray it above me now, where's it going to be? 10 minutes later, it's probably not going to be there. It's going to be somewhere else, right? Whoops, unintended. Yeah, of course. So, some of the key points. The White House Office of Science and Technology Policy is coordinating a 5-year research plan to study ways of modifying the amount of sunlight that reaches the Earth in order to temporarily temper the effects of global warming. Hooray! 3 cheers for the White House Office of Science and Technology Policy. Yay. There are several kinds of sunlight reflection technology being considered, including stratospheric aerosol injection. Yay. Marine cloud brightening and cirrus cloud thinning. Yeah, great stuff, right? I mean, what could go wrong? What could go wrong? It doesn't matter. We'll just do it, right? We'll do it anyway. It doesn't matter what could go wrong. The flooding, the drought. Quickly. It rained in Glasgow. Yeah. Stratospheric aerosol injection involves spraying an aerosol like sulfur dioxide into the stratosphere, and because it has the potential to affect the entire globe, often gets the most attention. Yeah, I bet it does. That old conspiracy theory of aerosol injection in the sky. Yeah. Maybe not a conspiracy theory after all. While arguments of moral hazard have handicapped research efforts, the idea is getting more urgent attention in the worsening climate crisis. The flooding. The drought. Yeah, caused by what exactly? Of course, they would tell you, me and you done it. Yeah. Nothing to do with anything else. Now, I'm not telling you that I know what is doing it or what the real reason is, but they're certainly playing a part in manipulating it with the decades of spraying that's already happened. It's already occurred. And the research might have been handicapped over time, but it's going to go ahead. Now they've got a 5-year plan. Yay! How much do you think they're going to spend on this? Of course, they claim it's cheap. It's a cheap way to do it, a cheap way to help mitigate. Yeah. What is it they say about the cheap option again? Probably to stay well clear of it, right? What happens when you buy the cheap option? It's never usually a great idea. When you buy a cheap one, you're back in 10 minutes to buy another one. That's the case with anything, let's face it. And I'd imagine it'll be the case with geoengineering, especially, well, not geoengineering as a whole, but stratospheric aerosol injection. That is the one they claim is cheap. Cheap as chips, hooray! Yeah. Yeah. I'm sure people would think of other ways to spend money rather than spraying aerosols into the stratosphere with unknown and known unintended, seemingly unintended consequences. But hey, the climate crisis, right? 1 degree, 2 degree. The world underwater. Yeah. The polar bear. Don't forget that guy. So it's probably got to be done. I think we've said now for about a year that it's going to happen. It is clear as day they are going to bring it out. Getting ready to research a topic is very preliminary step, but it's notable the White House is formally engaging with what has largely been seen as the stuff of dystopian fantasy. Yeah. Wait, what? A dystopian fantasy? Whose fantasy is that? Bill Gates, probably. Yeah, a dystopian fantasy. Like, in Kim Stanley Robinson's science fiction novel, The Ministry for the Future. A heat wave in India kills 20 million people, and out of desperation, India decides to implement its own strategy of limiting the sunlight that gets to Earth. Hooray! A dystopian fantasy in this 2020 climate fiction novel, The Ministry for the Future. Anyone read it? Anyone heard about it? Probably not, right? I would imagine probably not. Frank, maybe Frank's heard of it. But here we are. We've not got... This is not science fiction. It kind of is science fiction. But it's also climate fiction. That's what they're calling it. The Ministry for the Future. Where they talk about huge heat waves, if you like, in India that kills 20 million people. And other events. We're going to touch on that a wee bit. But we're going to stick with the article for the time being. Did we know about the guy David Keefe? Professor David Keefe, the expert, the go-to. Oh man, this guy, honestly, he just won't go away. He will not go away. But when it comes to geoengineering, it's got to go away. It needs to stop. I cannot stress that enough. Honestly, we really need to do anything we can to, I don't know, put a spanner in the work, maybe. But it's going to go ahead. They're going to be doing it. But the sooner it gets stopped, the better. Harvard professor David Keefe, who first worked on the topic in 1989. What? 1989? Yeah. Of course, it's not old news, right? Nothing ever is. Who first worked on the topic in 1989 said it's being taken much more seriously now. Yeah, I bet it is. Yeah, it's being driven big time. You can see the agenda behind it with all the might, pushing it in the media big time. Even the likes of the David Attenborough series on wildlife, but no, climate change. Thought it was about wildlife. Well, no, think again, right? Climate change. That's got to do with wildlife as well. Sure. He points to a formal statement of support for research from a group he advises called the Overshoot Commission. Yay! Commissions! Yeah, a bit like the Rockefeller Commission, the ever trustworthy commissions. Yay! The Environmental Defense Fund. Yay! Great, right? The Union of Concerned Scientists. Right, so not just a scientist, but a concerned one. So yeah, of course. And the Natural Resources Defence Council have also indicated support for the research. Yeah, all the good guys getting behind it now. They're bringing everyone in all together, pushing the geoengineering agenda forward. And I would give it about 3 years and it'll be happening. They'll be rolling it out, the geoengineering program. Of course, they already are. But in terms of this one, the Harvard program, the David Keefe program, the NASA program, because they're a big player in it. Of course, the space agency, right? Let's go with that. So they're getting everyone behind it. Yeah. And of course, Bill Gates will be in there because he's planning to block out the sun, at least throw money at it. His own money, of course. Not the Rockefellers' money. No, it's Bill Gates' money. He invented Microsoft. Man. He invented Microsoft. He's really smart, Bill Gates. Yeah, he's not a college dropout criminal. Rockefeller lapdog. No, don't be silly. That would be conspiratorial. Yeah. I mean, where do you start with Bill Gates? We're going to have to get into Bill Gates again. Honestly. Oh my God. He's never out of the news. And there's nothing that he's not involved in. Not one thing. Honestly. You can bet any money when you look into it a bit deeper, no matter what it is. The Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation. It will be there. Mark my words. So, yeah, we're going to have to get back into Bill. Devil Bill. In time to come. But sticking with the article. A landmark report released in March 2021 from the National Academies of Sciences, Engineering and Medicine addressed 3 kinds of solar geoengineering: stratospheric aerosol injection, marine cloud brightening, and cirrus cloud thinning. Yay! I think we've covered before the aerosol injection and marine cloud brightening, where they put basically, I think, salt water. They spray seawater into the stratosphere. I'm sure that's pretty much what it is. Cloud thinning. I'm unsure. We might get into that one a wee bit more. But that's 3 of the techniques they've got when it comes to at least sun reflection. And stratospheric aerosol injection would involve flying aircraft into the stratosphere, or there's an or, between 10 miles and 30 miles skyward. What? Yeah. Yeah. It reminded me of when Starlink said, we're going to put them in space or not in space. And I thought, well, they're not going to be in space, right? Who are they trying to kid? They're not going to be in space. And of course, they're not. And I would imagine, could be going out on a limb, I would imagine these are going to be between 10, probably about 10. In fact, I would say less. They might come out, this might get the syndrome, and they might come out and say, well, it needs to be lower than previously thought to have any effect, probably. So they'll bring it down to, say, I don't know, 8 miles, 5 miles, even 10 miles is, I mean, that's not that far. And of course, what goes up, it must come down again. Hooray! What's going to be the consequences of that, I wonder? Answers on a postcard, right? I'm unsure what time we're going to go to tonight. So, between 10 miles and 30 miles skyward, and spraying a fine mist that would hang in the air reflecting some of the sun's radiation back into space. Yay! 3 cheers for spraying a fine mist that's going to hang in the air. Far, far away from anyone. You don't have to worry about it, sure. And what's this flying an aircraft? Sounds a bit like that conspiracy theory, right? The chemtrail one. Yeah, funny that. Let's not go there. Totally nothing to worry about it, right? Yeah, Justine, what could go wrong? I agree. What could go wrong? I guess anything that does go wrong is probably intended rather than what they would claim is unintended. And again, we're so lucky, right? Get your raincoat. In fact, probably not. There could be less rain by the sounds of it. It would depend on where you stay, I'd imagine. It could get a bit hectic when this starts. Like I said, I think we could be about 3 years away from it. But in my own opinion, they're already doing it. Right? How long do people think they've been spraying the skies for? I think I've asked this before. Personally, I think since about the 1940s. That's the earliest I can put a date on. Some people say the 60s, some people say the 80s. I think you'd have to go back longer. And I mean, the real question is, what's the end game here? What's the be all and end all? What's it going to achieve? What exactly are they trying to achieve by manipulating the weather, orchestrating artificial weather system, trying to play God? It is completely insane. And it's quite staggering that we're actually here at this point, and it is being pushed big time now. And I mean, if they do want to kill us all off, they're doing a good job of it, and they will be with this. And this is only the stuff that we know about. This is only the half they're telling us. Like I said, in my own view, it's been going on already. But now they're even pushing it in the open. The cheek of it. Acting like no one even said it was a conspiracy theory before, or had been happening before. Quite insane that we're at this point. And of course, who do they blame? Me and you. Driving every day to work. Consumption. Meat. Eating meat. The meat industry. Having a dog. Having a family. Having a house. Having a garden. They don't want you to have any of that whatsoever. And they're making a good job of that as well. Let's face it, they're, in terms of destruction, I mean, we touched on the World Economic Forum document, The Global Crisis, and it basically described in black and white the complete destruction of the world that we're in. A complete collapse of every single ecosystem, of every structure, including the government as we know it. And of course, there must and there will be a solution to it all. What's it going to be? What's going to be the solution to a complete government collapse right across the world? Anyone guess? A reset. I think we're already in it, right? Of course, the answer is going to be a one world government, a one world body. And it's already waiting in the wings. Let's not kid ourselves. It's there, pulling the string already. The strings even. The many of them, the many tentacles that it has. I think geoengineering might coincide with the war, which could make things even worse. And of course, we've not even mentioned a nuclear winter or the use of a nuclear war to help fight climate change. That's a genuine solution that they have. And I mean, if you thought the world was mental, wow, that one is insane. A nuclear war to help block out the sun. A small nuclear exchange they talked about. Hooray! Where do you sign up, right? Let's get it done. We've had enough anyway. Let's just get it done. Where's that bloody nuclear button? Pass it here. We've had enough of the deception, right? Of course, we'll fight whatever it's going to be head on. And that's what we'll do. They're never going to get us down. They're never going to pin us down in fear. No way. Quote, the stratosphere is calm. Yeah, nice and calm, right? And things stay up there for a long time. Close quote. Parson told CNBC. The expert, of course. They've got a few experts here that they rolled out, right? They're great at doing that. So he's saying the stratosphere is nice and calm. Right. It's nice and calm. And things stay up there for a long time. Yeah, so it's fine then. If you spray stuff in it, like, I don't know, sulfur dioxide, it's going to be all right. There's not going to be any issue, sure. I mean, who would even think that? Of course it would be an issue. Of course you're going to create a problem. It is absolutely insane. So it's nice and calm, and stuff stays up there for a long time. He continues to say, the atmospheric life of stuff that's injected into the stratosphere is between 6 months and 2 years, close quote. That's how long he reckons these particles that would have been sprayed would stay up in the atmosphere for 6 months to 2 years. And then, of course, where do they go? No mention of that, right? It would just, they stay in the air for 6 months to 2 years. Of course, in my view, it won't even be that. It will not be that. It'll be less than that. But I mean, then what? Nothing? Of course it comes back down, right? It's going to come back down. And we're going to get it. Or whatever poor soul is underneath it. I can't see it being as long as 6 months, never mind 2 years. I just can't see it being that long. I'm not an expert on the weather system we've got, but I can't see that. I can't see it being that long. We might look into that one in time. Stratospheric aerosol injection quote, would immediately take the high end of hot extremes, Parsons said. And also it would, quote, pretty much immediately slow extreme precipitation events, he said. Right, so more drought then. It would take the high end of hot extremes. Yeah, to what exactly? The other end of it? A cold extreme? To no heat whatsoever? And drought? Yay! 3 cheers for drought, right? Quote, and it's not imperfect because we haven't got it right yet. It's imperfect because the imperfection is embedded in the way it works. What? Yeah. Because, yeah, of course, because it's not going to work, right? The same reason it's fast is the reason that it's imperfect, and there's no way to get around that. Yeah. You can't get around it, so there's no point going there. You've just got to go ahead and do it. Yeah. Interesting, some of the stuff that gets said from these experts, the way they put it across. Of course, it's nothing's perfect, but this is insane. Honestly, if anyone can't see it, hey, surely it can't be just me. Surely it can't be just me who's sitting here thinking, nah, they can't be doing it. This can't be right. This might be a dream. Is this a dream, right? Talking about blocking out the sun, spraying this toxins in the stratosphere. It's the stuff of nightmares. Never mind a dystopian fantasy in climate fiction. Yeah. Hooray, right? Quote, the top line slogan about stratospheric aerosol injection, which I wrote in a paper more than 10 years ago, but it's still apt, is fast, cheap, and imperfect. Huh? Fast, cheap, and imperfect. Sounds like a movie, right? Or a book, maybe. Fast, cheap, and imperfect. Possibly the way to describe someone. I don't know. Fast is crucial. Right. Nothing else that we do for climate change is fast. Cheap. It's so cheap. Parson told CNBC, the expert. Right. So it's cheap. Yay. And like I said, what do they say about... I mean, we know about cheap, the cheap option. I mean, come on, right? You do not take the cheap option. It'll come back and bite you. But when it comes to geoengineering, it's fine. Stratospheric aerosol injection is cheap and it's good. Right? I thought putting toxins in the ozone was bad. Yeah, but not these ones when it's managed by these guys, right? And we'll expand on that a wee bit more. So it's cheap. Hooray. What can go wrong? One option for the aerosol is sulfur dioxide. Huh? Right. Yeah, sure. The cooling effects of which are well known from volcanic eruptions. That's a volcanic eruption, by the way. So, yeah, of course, they've studied these volcanic eruptions. I think NASA play a big part in that. The 1991 eruption of Mount Pinatubo, for instance, spewed thousands of tons of sulfur dioxide into the stratosphere, causing global temperatures to drop temporarily by about, wait for it, 1 degree Fahrenheit, according to the US Geological Survey. But it's anyone's guess. 1 degree Fahrenheit. Ah! Run to the hills. We're all doomed, right? Yeah. I think they say if it increases by 3 degrees, I think the global temperature, we're all doomed. We're all finished, right? So, zero emission, zero carbon, and geoengineering is the only option that we have. I guess if you want an idea of where it might be heading, watch the movie Geostorm. Is it Geostorm? Am I getting it wrong now? Honestly, it's getting late. We'll blame that. I think it's called Geostorm. Has anyone watched it? It's a bit far-fetched, to be honest, but with the technology they've got manipulating the weather, I'm unsure as to what. I wouldn't rule anything out. I wouldn't rule the manipulation of hurricanes, tornadoes, even volcanic eruptions as manipulation. I don't think we can rule it out. So, hooray, right? Lucky we had that volcanic eruption and that gave us an insight as to what we could do maybe to block out the sun. Yay! Yeah. Of course, what would happen if we do it, the geoengineering, and then there is a volcanic eruption and it's double blocking out the sun? Where's that going to put us? I don't think we would be seeing the sun again. Put it that way. And again, you've got to wonder what it's all about. What's the end game here? There's also a precedent in factories that burn fossil fuels, especially coal. Right. I thought coal might get a mention. Coal has some sulfur that oxidizes when burned, creating sulfur dioxide. That sulfur dioxide goes through other chemical reactions and eventually falls to the earth as sulfuric acid in rain. Hooray! But during the time that the sulfur pollution sits in the air, it does serve as a kind of insulation from the heat of the sun. Right. So it's good then, even though they say coal's bad. Ironically, as the world reduces coal burning to curb the carbon dioxide emissions that causes global warming, we'll also be eliminating the sulfur dioxide emissions that mask some of that warming. Right, yeah, because it is 2022 and everything makes total sense today, right? And it's so ironic that, sure, of course it is. And of course, coal's been destroyed for decades. I can't see it coming back. It was even in the syndrome again. It's worse than previously thought when it comes to coal pollution. But I think they are considering bringing back some of the coal in the UK. So maybe we will see it. We will get into the energy situation as well, possibly next week, right? So imagine that, right? How ironic is that? As the world reduces coal burning to curb carbon dioxide emissions that cause global warming, they'll also be eliminating the sulfur dioxide emissions that mask some of the warming. Right. Yeah. Of course. Quote, sulfur pollution that's coming out of the smokestacks right now, as we speak, is masking between a third and a half of the heating signal from the greenhouse gases humans have already emitted into the atmosphere, Parsons said. In other words, we've been doing one form of sunlight reflection for decades already. Yeah. No shit, Sherlock. But in an uncontrolled fashion with terrible warming effects, explained Kelly Wanzer, even, I don't know, we'll go with Wanzer, the executive director of Silver Lining, an organization promoting research and governance of climate interventions. Hooray! So interesting. Yeah. So we've already been doing it. Kind of what I had already said, but not in that exact words. The chimneys, all these factories, they've been doing it. But that's been causing global warming. Yeah, but it's been done in an unclean fashion. It's been done in an unorganized way, an uncontrolled way. With their spraying of toxins, they're going to do it in a controlled way. So there won't be this added warming effect from it, right? Sure. Let's go with that. Quote, this isn't something totally new and Frankenstein. We are already doing it. We're doing it in the most dirty, unplanned way you could possibly do it. And we don't understand what we're doing. Wansner told CNBC. Yeah. Wow. Kind of like the truth in plain sight. This isn't something totally new and Frankenstein. Yeah. You can say that again. We are already doing it. We're doing it in the most dirty, unplanned way you could possibly do it. And I am talking about the geoengineering. And we don't understand what we're doing. Yeah. Spraying sulfur in the stratosphere is not the only way of manipulating the amount of sunlight that gets to the Earth. And some say it's not the best option. Yeah. How about everyone says that? Apart from the people who get paid. Like David Keefe, the professor, the expert, and all his little cretins. And of course, people like Bill Gates, anyone who takes money from him. They might be for it. But anyone who has got even half a brain cell and the slightest bit of common sense will be against it. You can't be for it. You simply couldn't. Honestly, you'd have to be getting paid big money to come out and say, yeah, it's a great idea. It's a great idea and it's going to help mitigate the weather. Sure. But of course, they find a way. They'll use celebrities and all the rest of the puppets they roll out to push it forward, to push it through, make sure it happens. They'll throw billions and trillions and gazillions at it. And it'll happen. It'll come. Quote, sulfur dioxide is likely not the best aerosol. Yeah. And is by no means the only technique for this. Cloud brightening is a very promising technique as well. For example, marine cloud brightening involves increasing the reflectivity of clouds that are relatively close to the surface of the ocean. With techniques like spraying sea salt crystals into the air. Hooray! Marine cloud brightening generally gets less attention than stratospheric aerosol injection because it affects a half dozen to a few dozen miles and would potentially only last hours to days. So not very good then for blocking out the sun. But it could work to an extent. This could be one they could do in the UK. So basically what they do there, as you can see, they spray seawater into the air, into these clouds. And they think that that's not going to be an issue. They think that it'll be okay. It's not going to have any effect. Of course, it might not straight away, but imagine over time. I can guarantee you it will have an effect, and not a good one. The way they're portraying it at the moment is that eventually nations are going to become dependent on geoengineering. So I guess it's going to be the Hunger Games society, but in a weather sort of sense. If that makes any sense. Probably not. So, yeah, 3 cheers for marine cloud brightening. Hooray! It's not got any adverse effects. Yay, where have we heard that? There are significant and well-known risks to some of these techniques. Surely not. Sulfur dioxide aerosol injection in particular. Yeah. I would agree with that. First, spraying sulfur into the atmosphere will, quote, mess with the ozone chemistry in a way that might delay the recovery of the ozone layer, close quote. Parson told CNBC. What? Why are we doing this again? Who said this was a good idea again? Bill Gates. Yeah, it was Bill Gates. Also, sulfates injected into the atmosphere eventually come down as, acid rain. Hooray! The crops all love that, right? Yeah, which affects soil, water reservoirs, and local ecosystems. But wait for it. Third, the sulfur in the atmosphere forms very fine particulates that can cause respiratory illness, shock, horror. But hey, 1 degree Fahrenheit, right? The drought, right? It rained in Glasgow, right? Yeah, got to get it done. Think of all them polar bears. So it sounds great, does it? I mean, come on. If this is them trying to sell it, they're not doing a very good job of it. I guess they might come out in the future and say, well, actually, it's not. We've done our tests. We've done a few mock testing, modeling, and it's not going to be quite as bad as we thought. It's going to be all right. You're not going to choke to death. It's not going to destroy the water. Sure it's not. Like they're telling us, what goes up, it must come back down, and it will come back down eventually. Where it's all part of the same system. And again, that's only the stuff they're telling us about. What else could it do? What else could it cause, illness-wise? And think about this. And also consider the view that I have in regards to them already doing it. Yeah. The sulfur already being emitted from the burning of fossil fuels is causing environmental damage and is already killing between 10 million to 20 million people a year due to respiratory illness, said Parson. Well, some guy Parson, right? Quote, so that's the way we live already. Close quote. Wow. That's the way we live already. Shock horror. You couldn't make it up. Honest to God, you could not make that up. Meanwhile, quote, the world is getting hotter and there will be catastrophic impacts for many people in the world. Close quote. Yeah. So we what? We must act now. Quick. Spray the sky. Spray them like bugs. Yeah. I wonder where he's getting the information that it's killing 10 to 20 million people a year. I'm a bit unsure about that one. Some guy, Parson, the expert, right? So the Ministry for the Future by Kim Stanley Robinson, a New York Times best-selling author. Anybody know of this guy? No? Personally, I don't think that I'd heard of him. He doesn't ring a bell. But we're going to touch on it a wee bit. Yeah, my sound effects are top of the range. They beat any BBC sound effect, right? That was an aeroplane. That was like my kids, an aeroplane I would do for my kids when they were babies. That's the best I've got. Do you know what? I'm gonna have to go to the toilet. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna play a quick tune, and then we've still got a few slides to get through, quite a bit, maybe actually. Let me see. I'm unsure. We've got quite a bit of stuff to get through, but I'm gonna nip to the loo for a Jimmy Riddle, and I'll grab a drink as well. Kill two birds with one stone, right? So I'll play a tune. Let me see. Have I got one that I can play? Can I manage that? What are we going to go with? I know. We'll go with a classic. One that we've used quite a lot. And then I'll say hello to anybody who's in the chat. And then we'll continue. And we might go until... Could be a late one. You might want to get your pajamas on now, right? Although, you could be anywhere. It could be afternoon, morning. Who knows, right? But it is night time here in the northeast of Bonnie, Scotland. So I'm going to play a tune and then we'll be back again in about 3-4 minutes, right? So here it goes.
Stand up for your right. Get up, stand up.
too. You really heard that? The rain. The rain. Right. Well, we haven't learned to control the weather yet, but that's something we can look forward to as tomorrow's challenge. Right. We haven't learned to control the weather yet, but that's something we can look forward to as tomorrow's challenge.
Right.
Tomorrow's challenge.
Right.
Yeah, tomorrow's job, right? We haven't learned how to control the weather yet, but that's something we can look forward to as tomorrow's job, said Neil Armstrong. The weatherman? Yeah, the weatherman. Let's go with that, right? I wonder how NASA got on with that being in, 69? Yeah, they put a cap. They put a cap on Armstrong after that. Quick, he can't say that again, right? He's giving the game away. So we're back again in a fitting tune to play. Because in my view, when it comes to weather modification, NASA are at the helm. They're the skipper of the geoengineering ship. Right, there's a quote for you. Write it down. Let me quickly go to the comments section. I've been terrible with the comments tonight, so I apologise, right? We've got Carmel in the hood from New Zealand, right? All the way from New Zealand. Great stuff. Good to see you back again. And Wendy B. I do not believe in the globe. Is that a globe Earth? What is it, the Flat Earth Society? What did they say about not NASA? Mars. Mars is not a globe, they said. It's been observed as a planet. Has it? Since when? By who? What, by NASA? I mean, are we trusting NASA now? Oh, so we trust them with Mars, but we don't trust them with the Earth, right? Yeah. No, you don't trust them, full stop. You can't trust them. And anybody who observes Mars, I'm sorry, but you're not going to see a globe. You're not going to see a planet. It's not how it works. It's simply not. A lot of people study these stars, and it's not quite what you see. It's not like in the movies or NASA's movies. But for me personally, I struggle to buy that Mars is how could I put it, a solid planet. But we're going to go there, right? Elon Musk's taking us there. Hooray! Sure. Yeah, we're all a bit. The inner child comes out of me quite a lot. You might notice that. I'm just a 35-year-old child, basically. Who are we talking about here? It's good to see Scotty in the hood. Who are we referring? Bart Sabrell, is it? You're referring to even. He believes Bart is anti-flat Earth movement. To be honest, I think he should be any movement, anti any movement. Just don't fall into that trap, right? So be anti-movement. Just be against everything. Pretty much. Just have your own view, right? As an individual. I'm unsure. I think Bart might be what do they call people who believe in a globe? A glober. Dividing ourselves up, right? But I'm unsure. I know that Bart's a religious guy, so maybe he's more on the flat plane side of things. I'm unsure. I know that he thinks that China got to the moon. I'm sorry, Bart, but I can't buy it. It's completely, in my view, it's completely faked. No one's getting to the moon. Not that I can see, I'm afraid. It's not happening. So good to see Justine. Rich is in the hood as well, of course. No Rich, no Carmel, even without Rich, right? Good to see my long lost son back again. Hasdak as well is lurking in the background. You might get arrested for that. But good to see you back again, Hasdak, and Sue as well in the hood. Great stuff. We'll jump back to the comments in a bit. So has anyone read this book? Bart Subrell is an idiot. I'm unsure. I mean, who am I to call anyone an idiot, right? We've all got our different views and different opinions. I'm unsure if I would be calling the guy an idiot, to be honest. But hey, knock yourself out. I'm reading his book. I've just about finished it, the Bart Subrell Moon Man book, and it is a good book, to be honest. And seeing the sort of deathbed confession video as well now, kind of concludes it. And if you've not seen it, I was meant to show it. We were going to look at that a wee bit. We might get into that rather than something else at the end, right? Because we're kind of pushing it for time. I don't want to keep everyone all night, right? I don't think it's fair. So that we'll jump back to this book just now. We'll get rid of. We'll see if I can work the screen. And we're back again. We're rolling. We're good to go. One of my second screens went down. I've reverted to the phone as a second screen, which never usually does well, to be honest. Usually, and my battery's low, so it's not going to last. But there you go. I'll try my best to keep up with it. So this is a book we might get into a wee bit more in the future. Possibly a review on climate fiction. Yay! Don't you mean science fiction? No. Don't be silly. Climate fiction. What's not fiction these days? Honestly. What is even the difference between fiction and reality? Who's going to let me know? Frank will let me know, right? Is there any difference? I don't think there is, to be honest. It's all fiction. There is no reality. There you go. You heard it here first, right? So, the Ministry for the Future sounds great. Sounds a bit Orwellian, maybe? A bit like 1984. The Ministry of Truth. Do we know about them guys? The Folk Police at YouTube. Ah, man. That's like yeah. Let's not go there. So, with the emphasis on scientific accuracy and non-fiction descriptions of history and social science, right? The novel is classified as hard science fiction. Right, so it's not science fiction, but it's hard science fiction, but really it's climate fiction. Totally not confusing, right? But really it's reality, probably. So like I said, what's not fiction, right? But this is hard fiction because it's got scientific accuracy and non-fiction descriptions of history. Where did they get them from? Man, where did they get where did they get their non-fiction descriptions of history? I'd like to find them. I guess they're locked away in the lodge, right? The Solomon's Temple. Yeah, non-fiction's descriptions of history. I don't think they exist. They're all fictional descriptions. At least that's my view. It is also part of the growing body of climate fiction. Hooray! Yeah. Wonders never cease, right? Robinson had previously written other climate fiction novels, such as 2312 and New York 2140. The Ministry for the Future also includes elements of utopian fiction. Yeah. As it portrays society addressing a problem and elements of horror fiction. As climate change threatens characters. Heat wave. Yeah. I've not got a sound effect for heat wave yet. I guess a sizzling. Some sort of sizzling sound, right? We won't try it. So I'm a bit confused here, to be honest. What is it? Science fiction? No, it can't be that because it's scientifically accurate. Historical fiction? No, it can't be that because it's non-fictional historical descriptions, sure. But it's also being called horror fiction as well because the heat wave killing people. Quick, go underground. So there's a horrific element to it as well. It's like a bit like everything all rolled into one big fat book of deception. Probably a blueprint, maybe, of what's to come, if there is climate horrific disasters to be coming. I think there could be. What they talk about is basically in regards to climate disasters currently and the implementation of geoengineering. They say that it won't be one big disaster that pushes forward the geoengineering program. It's going to be gradual because that's how they work. Everything comes in gradually, and when you find out it's already here, happening, shock horror. So we might get into the book a bit more. It did get nominated. I don't think it won any awards. But basically the plot primarily follows Mary Murphy, the head of the titular Ministry for the Future. Oh, wow. And Frank May, an American aid worker, traumatized by experiencing a deadly heat wave in India. Shock horror. Many chapters are devoted to others, mostly anonymous characters' accounts of future events, as well as their ideas about ecology, economics, and other subjects. Yeah. So wait, is this a dystopian fantasy or is this a future prediction? The ministry, this you'll see there on the left-hand side. There's an article from The Guardian, I believe 2020, when the book came out. Book of the day. Yay! The Ministry for the Future by Kim Stanley Robinson review how to solve the climate crisis. So it's going to help us solve the climate crisis. Why is this guy writing climate fiction? Should he not be working for NASA? Of course, a science fiction guy would never work for NASA, right? Think again. Because I know of a certain guy who worked for NASA. And he also was a science fiction writer. Anybody guess his name? I'll give you a chance. Does anyone know? I mean, what would be the chances, right? Working for NASA, a scientific expert, but also a science fiction writer. Who could it be? He was jack of all trades. He was a bit more than seemingly a scientist and a science fiction writer. He was also a Nazi. And it is indeed von Braun, the German Nazi who escaped to America. Hooray! We're not worthy. And of course, he fronted NASA in the push to go to the moon and colonize Mars. Yay! By 1980. Yeah. And of course, the book that I would be referring to when it comes to von Braun is the book about going to Mars. I'm forgetting the name now. And of course, the character in it is called Elon. What's the book called? Someone's bound to know. I'm forgetting now. But it's a science fiction novel about a journey to Mars, or a mission to Mars, fronted by a guy named Elon. We've touched on it before. And it was written by von Braun, the NASA Nazi scientist. I mean, you could not make it up, right? Yeah. I wonder how many science fiction guys work for NASA today. A lot of Photoshop experts, I would imagine. If you're good at Photoshop, you could probably get a job with NASA, right? So, an international task force tackles global heating in this chilling yet hopeful vision of how the next few decades might unfold. I think we might have to read it. To see what's going to happen, right? It might give you an idea. Of course, it doesn't necessarily mean it's what's going to happen, because when you look at von Braun's book, they talk about going to Mars. Yeah, it's a guy called Elon, but that ain't going to happen, although they're certainly trying their best to make it look like it's going to happen. I mean, look at all the problems that we've got on Earth in this world. And here we are, trying to go to the moon, trying to go to Mars, trying to find other planets that might be like the Earth. And we've seemingly not even explored the full extent of the world that we're in, the oceans that we have. Oh, forget that, right? Forget it. We're going to Mars, of course. Yeah, Total Recall. Man. Total Recall. What do you think of when you think about Total Recall, the movie? For me, it's only one thing. Of course, I was only a young lad when it came out. So you could imagine what stands out for me in Total Recall. I wasn't a fan of Total Recall, to be honest. I didn't like it. I'd watch it. I think I watched it a few times on video, VHS. Arnold Schwarzenegger, is it? I can never say his name properly. I always feel like I'm going to get arrested for racial abuse when I say his name. Oh, man. You can imagine me trying to say his name, right? Is there anyone who liked the movie Total Recall? Is there anyone who's even seen it? I bet Atlantis has seen it. He could give us a full review on it in about 10 seconds. But there's only one thing that stood out for me that I can remember. So it gives us a hopeful vision of how the next few decades might unfold. Yay! And no, wait, actually, not yay. Because it's got all these events in it that are traumatizing people. What sort of hopeful vision is that? Wow. Yeah, it sounds a bit like a nightmare, to be honest. An absolute nightmare. Oh, Scotty says that Total Recall's good. Okay, Scotty. I'll give you that. It's good for its time, right? We'll go with that. Here's an aeroplane. Totally nothing to see whatsoever. It looks like it might be spraying a crop field. But I guess that would be similar to what they might be doing in the sky. This is the picture that came along with the article from the Guardian. And I think it's meant to portray geoengineering, but if you ask me, it's spraying some kind of insecticide or pesticide. But then again, what does that tell you? Of course, they won't be doing that to us, right? We're not insects that they want to kill. Yeah, sure. Let's go with that. Let's just tell ourselves that, right? Of course, history tells us different. Think about the germ war games that they done in the UK. Not just the UK, they done it in Russia, they done it in America. All peas in a pod, of course. The only real wars against me and you. But what did they do then? In, I think, the 70s in the UK, in England. They've done it in Scotland as well. They sprayed a toxin that mimicked anthrax on the British public because of the Russians. Oh, the Russians! That's a bomb. So that's what they said it was for, because of the Russians, right? We're going to be testing. Of course, they never told anyone till later on. And it actually caused a lot of damage to people. One person in particular who knew about it because he was in the military at the time. His wife had a miscarriage, I think 2 miscarriages. And it was put down to the toxins that they sprayed at the time. So there is real effects to this sort of stuff. Without a doubt. And it's there in black and white to see. And I guess if we were to think that it's not happening today, we'd be kidding ourselves big time. What they done in the 70s was testing for it. And that was only the testing they told us about. And they used all kinds of manners of implementing the toxins, for lack of a better word. Injecting them. They done it from an aircraft. They done it from a boat. And they also done it from a generator attached to a trailer on the back of a vehicle. and they drove around the countryside, just outside of a town, I think through the night. And then, of course, it all floated into the town. Good morning, right? Hooray! We're so lucky. But of course, it's the Russians. Although they were doing the same thing as well. And the Americans were doing the same thing. Question is, who's really pulling the strings? I mean, when it comes to militaries, nations don't even own their military. They don't. I've talked about this before. In particular, we're going off a wee bit here, but in particular, we talked about when America seemingly withdrew from Iraq not that long ago. They never took anything with them. Millions and millions and millions of dollars or pounds, whatever you want to say, in equipment left. Not broken. Not even out the wrapper. But left there. And some of you might recall, the reason for that, in my view, was because they don't own it. It doesn't belong to the American military. It belongs to the hidden hand. And they see fit who gets to use whatever equipment it may be, in whatever nation it may be. The governments of the nation don't decide what their military does. The hidden hand does. And it had decided then that that particular equipment, it was going elsewhere. And God only knows where it is now. But someone else is going to have it. You can be guaranteed of that. And another example on that, recently when I spoke to a Royal Marine, a Canadian guy who was a captain, I think a lieutenant in the Marines. There was a video playing on a screen and it had armoured vehicles. And one of the vehicles I thought was a warrior combat vehicle that the UK military use, which is probably not even theirs. And he said, no, that's not a warrior vehicle. It's basically a modified or extra modified armoured vehicle. Looks a bit like a warrior. And I said, oh, that's pretty cool. Is that the Americans? And he said, no, it belongs to the French military. And it was being used by the Royal Marines, the French military. Right, so these nations, we know they don't have any power. It's the hidden hand that pulls the string, even down to the actions of the military, big time. And of course, they've got their own special divisions. We touched on one of them a week or two ago, the 33rd Squadron. And we will get into them again in the future. It's there's a lot to get into, but it's interesting as well. And I think a lot of it needs to be said. We kind of went off on one a wee bit there. None of it probably made any sense. What's he talking about? They don't own anything. Of course they don't, right? Honestly. I mean, at the end of the day as well, it's the only thing that made sense. Why would they have left that equipment there? They might have used it, but they never took it with them. They didn't own it. That's why. And of course, everyone was scratching their heads. Why have they left it? And I had drawn the conclusion, well, simple. It's not theirs, right? There's the real powers that be, the shadow government. They control the military, every military just about. And I would imagine the Russian military. Putin might come across as a bit of a rogue. But there has to be an enemy. There always has to be an enemy, or at least someone who is portrayed as an enemy. And of course, they will be controlled opposition. There are a lot of people who think Putin is not Illuminati. Personally, I could never see that being the case. They have too much power for any single nation, whoever it is, China, Russia, to go against it. But there's clearly orchestration at play here. And it would appear that they do want World War III, one way or another. It's probably going to happen. So they need someone to be the bad guy. The boogeyman. And of course, for the Russians, it's the Yanks. And for the Yanks, it's the Russians. But of course, the Russian people, probably great people. And the American people, also probably great people. Probably people who don't want to go to war. Why would they? But yet, here we are. The ticking clock getting ever closer to midnight. The Doomsday Clock. Why did they even make a Doomsday Clock? Whose idea was that? Honest to God, what a great... Yeah, we'll make a Doomsday Clock. And then when it strikes 12, Doomsday. What's going to happen then? What's my dog doing? Hey. Do we know about the Doomsday Clock? I'm sure people have heard of it, surely. Yeah, Klaus Schwab, right? As evil as they come. You learn nothing and you eat the bugs. That's my Klaus Schwab accent. Oh, man. A James Bond baddie, if there ever was one. The guy Schwab, if you look back on photos, he's always there as well in the background. He's been involved with it for quite a while now. Pulling the strings, promoting the World Economic Forum's leaders of tomorrow, leaders of the future. And of course, Putin was one of them as well. But some people will dismiss that and say, yeah, but he's not now. He was then, but he's not now. Yeah. And you think the Illuminati would let that go? And remember, you're talking about the Illuminati here, who have been controlling the world since the 1700s. Do you really think one rogue individual is gonna be let to even battle against the New World Order? If you think, yeah, then you don't get it. You're not getting the extent of the power. When you own everything, if one thing falls out, you choke it out one way or another because everything's intertwined. Russia needs the rest of the world as much as the rest of the world needs Russia. So if Russia was to not play ball, they would soon suffer. Now, is Russia currently suffering at the moment? I don't think it is. But the UK, that might be a different story, right? We seem to be suffering at the hands of the agenda. We might get into World War III. We've touched on it a few times in the past. It's been a wee while since we have, but I think we need to get into it again. In my own personal view, we're all being played. Putin's not rogue against the Illuminati. That can't happen. People get taken out for less. And I don't believe Russia's even at war with Ukraine, which sounds a bit silly, but I mean, the might of Russia, who started a war with Ukraine in 2014, what is still going on today? It's still going on today. The might of the Russian military. I mean, come on. I could win that war with Murrayshire, never mind Russia, probably in a week. It's theatre, dragged out, big time. Putin is WEF. What's that, some kind of slang? Yeah, he's World Economic Forum, which is another red flag to add to the Putin record. But there's a lot more than that to it, especially when you get to the roots of the Illuminati, the workings of the Illuminati in Russia. Yes, there's been issues in the past, but think how big, think how gigantic the control is that they have today. When I say the 1700s, I'm referring to the letter that was written by Lincoln in regards to the Illuminati in America. And I think on a worldwide scale, yeah, total control. But of course, if you want to get into the hidden mysteries, the mystery schools, then you're going to go back to the beginning of time. Never mind 4000 BC. But I was sort of meaning the Lincoln letter that discusses the Illuminati, which we have covered in the past, twice actually, if my memory serves me correct. I think I had to upload it, so it's on both channels, and the document is linked in. Let me see now, we're a bit behind. Typical that, right? What time is it? I think we're into Saturday morning at the movies. I'm still in the wrong time, the wrong time zone. I'm still kind of living in the future, which is a bit strange. But it stops me from being late. Let me see if I can screen share for a sec. We'll probably go about another half an hour, right? I don't want to keep you forever. It's not fair having to put up with me. How do you think my wife feels, right? So we're going to do a bit of screen sharing for the time being, if I can work it. What's going on here? I think that's it. No, wait. Oh, there we go. So, I wanted to show you this. Just quickly. We're going to, like I said at the start, if you were here, and if you're still here, fair play. The check is in the post. We are going to get into HARP in the future. It's going to be a live stream of its own. It's probably going to take about 3 hours. There's so much to get into. But just quickly, this is probably one that we will expand on. Bloody hell, what's going on with this laptop today? Now, here's a document here from 1990 in regards to HARP research and applications. Anyone came across it? From the Office of Naval Research and the Air Force. They're joint in this program, working together for the American government? Well, no, not quite. The hidden hand? Yeah, I'd go with that, to be honest. So just quickly here. Fantastic, right? Look at that technology. Yeah. HARP is one that kind of gives me the creeps, to be honest. I mean, the spraying turns my stomach. It makes my blood boil. But when it comes to HARP and everything surrounding it, kind of freaks me out a wee bit, to be honest. Transmitting all this radio waves and signals. Yeah. What have we got here? Ah, the Van Allen belts. Yeah, them belts that the astronauts never knew anything about. How did you get on with the radiation? What radiation? Don't think there was any radiation. Yeah, totally fine. Yeah. Interesting that, actually. So I guess you've got the sun shooting its solar flares to the Earth. The bow shock. I don't think I've ever heard of the bow shock, to be honest. I think I've heard of everything else mentioned, but I don't think I've heard of a bow shock. Maybe I have, but forgot. Has anyone heard of the bow shock? Looks a bit like it could be some sort of barrier. But the Van Allen belt looks a bit like a barrier as well. If we look down here, we're not going to get into this. We've not got time tonight, but here's an example. How can I... There we go. It's like something out of a computer game, right? Oh. Kind of an illustration as to how some of the HARP instruments might work in conjunction with each other to then, yeah, I guess manipulate the weather, if that is to be the case. And of course, you've got all their fancy bits of equipment there. And like I said before, I don't think it would take very much for them to achieve this kind of setup. Especially today. And it kind of got me thinking as well about something which I'll let you know in a sec. Yeah, it kind of got me thinking. We'll get back to this when we get into the HARP program, if you want to call it that. That's an interesting one there, right? Yeah. The Alaskan HARP site. Any Alaskans in the hood? ULF, ELF, VLF. Waves. Sounds great, right? All these frequencies, signals. being transmitted. Interesting that it's not the globe though. It's half. It's almost a bit like a flat Earth model that one, which is interesting. So, like I said, this is one we're going to get into. See if you look at that one there, that illustration. If you look at how the lines are drawn, that almost looks a bit like some of the sort of patterns you get in the sky sometimes when you look up and you think, yep, there's manipulation at play there. You can see it clear as day. It's not natural clouds. It looks a wee bit like the Wi-Fi logo. If you think of the Wi-Fi logo, you'll see that in the sky. In my view, that's HARP. I could be wrong. Kind of hard to prove it. But that's the conclusion that I've drawn. It's high-powered frequencies manipulating the weather. And maybe even more. Kind of going out on a limb, but I mean, here we are. It's all there in black and white, right? They've been doing it. Well, this is from the 1990s in regards to the HARP program. So I'd imagine you could go before that. Maybe even 10 years before that. But I want to take you to this here as well. This instrument. Can anyone guess who's behind this? Gadgets. It can only be one entity. Of course, it's NASA. NASA and HARP come hand in hand. Shock horror. Who'd have thought it, right? Yeah. Of course, the weather company, the weather agency, they've got to be there. They would have to be there helping HARP, the HARP program, and helping them with their technology. With, what is this one? The HARP 2 Hot Air Anti-Icing Research Program. Model for general aviation aircraft being installed and tested in the Icing Research Tunnel. Yeah. I thought NASA were a space agency. So did I once upon a time. I really did. Of course, then I woke up, right? Imagine NASA and HARP working hand in hand, creating technology. And what the hell is hot air anti-icing? And why is it on an aircraft? I thought they were trying to protect the ice sheets. Maybe not, right? Yeah, maybe not. And if you go down to similar, it's pretty much endless. And of course, who is it again? It's NASA! Yay! Your local weather agency, creating all the technology in hot air anti-icing. Yay! In their research tunnel. I wonder what else they do in their research tunnel, right? Yeah, maybe we'll get back into that. It's endless in regards to the images of technology they've got. Has anyone looked into this before? Looks a bit like, I don't know. How would you even describe it? I'm unsure, but I'll tell you what it got me thinking about. What one was it? Because I looked at quite a few of these and I thought, do you know this? kind of reminds me of a SpaceX satellite, honestly. Where is it? And I'll see if I can get an image of the satellite. Well, seemingly it's a satellite. A drone is probably a better description. I'm not going to find the image now that caught my attention, because I'm wanting to find it. I'm not going to find it. Interesting one. That looks a bit like a heater, maybe. Of course, yeah, a heater certainly would anti-ice. I'm not going to find it now. There was an image, and it pretty much looked like the inside of a SpaceX satellite, which when I first seen the inside of a SpaceX satellite, it looked like a heater. That's what it looked like, and other people thought that as well when I said. We're not going to find it now, but like I said, we are going to get back to HARP, so it's not going to run away. It's certainly not going to disappear. It's been covered by many, many people. Probably a lot better than I'm going to cover it, but we're going to get into it in a kind of that's life, but not as we know it fashion. As we do, right? So what we'll do is I want to show you a wee bit from a video before we wrap it up. It's from The Economist, the go-to, right, for all you need to know. Yeah. They're great at the front covers, them, The Economist. Remember the one with the 4 horsemen? Yeah. We've covered that one before. We might get into it again. So this came out October 2021. See what 3 degrees, 3, not 1, not 2, but 3 degrees of global warming looks like. Dun, dun, dun. Oh dear. So I've not actually watched it. So we're going to be doing it together in unison, right? I might refrain from commentating over it. We're not going to watch it all. We'll watch a wee bit, and then we'll jump to the comments, and then we'll begin to wrap it up. Hopefully I'm still going. I couldn't see what was going on. We're still going. We're still cooking, right? So let me see. I'll mute me. We'll play a wee bit, and then we'll go again. Yeah, 3 degrees. Dun, dun, dun. Run to the, I don't know, underground. So I'll mute me, and then I'll play it, right? Here it goes.
"3 degrees. It can be the difference between snow and sleet, wearing a jacket or not. In your day-to-day life, it may not seem significant, but 3 degrees of global warming would be catastrophic.
Heat waves, droughts, extreme precipitation, even fire. 3 degrees of warming is really disastrous.
The scary thing is, the world is well on its way there. Since the Industrial Revolution, the Earth has warmed between 1.1 and 1.3 degrees Celsius.
This is a problem that babies you pass in the street will have to live with.
Children born today are up to 7 times more likely to face extreme weather than their grandparents. If global temperatures do rise by 3 degrees, what would their world look like?
I'm Nick Nimmin, and I'm a StreamYard user. For the last 6 years, I've been live streaming.
Rising sea levels, desertification, Hollywood has always enjoyed imagining the end of the world. While blockbusters like this are clearly fiction, this film will show the scenario we all face, unless more drastic measures are taken to stop burning fossil fuels. In some parts of the world, the effects of inaction are already clear. The slums of Bangladesh's capital are filling up with climate migrants. Minara comes from Bola district, an area in southern Bangladesh. There, like many other parts of the country, rivers swollen by heavier rain and melting Himalayan glaciers are washing away people's homes. Many, like her, have lost everything.
বলার বাড়ি তো জায়গা জমিনের শেষ ছিল না, অনেক জায়গা জমিন ছিল, অনেক ফসলের জমিন ছিল, বাড়ির জায়গা অনেক ছিল, বাড়িতে অনেক ফলমূল গাছ বিভিন্ন ধরনের অনেক কিছু ছিল, সব কিছু নিজের গাছের জিনিস মানে খেতে পারতাম। এখন তো আর ওগুলা খাইতে পারে না, ওগুলো তো নাই, নদী 3 ভাঙ্গা দেওয়ার পরে ঢাকা চলে আইতে হইছে। বাড়িতে থেকে তো অনেক আরাম ছিলাম, মানে খুবই খারাপ লাগতো, মানে সহ্য করার মতো না, ঘর দুয়ার ভাঙ্গা নিয়ে চলে যাওয়ার মতো টাইম ছিল না।
1.1 to 1.3 degrees of global warming has already transformed Minara's life. It's one of the reasons why so many migrants like her are moving to the city each year. Nearly 400,000, according to the last estimate. And climate models show there could be much worse to come. Climate scientist Yuri Rogol has spent the last 10 years modeling future climate scenarios for the United Nations.
The models we use to carry out this exercise really represent the state of the art of our current knowledge of climate change and where we are heading.
Yuri's projections use data collected by hundreds of scientists around the world.
Here, this is the 3-degree level, and so there is at least a 1 in 4 chance that under current policies we would hit 3 degrees by the end of the century.
This is just one of the scenarios Yuri looks at. Another one imagines that all policy promises are kept. The most optimistic assumes that all promises have been kept and net zero targets are met.
Where our best estimate ends up around 2 degrees at the end of the century, there is still a 1 in 20 chance that we end up with 3 degrees instead. One wouldn't be entering a plane if there is a 1 in 20 chance that the plane will crash.
A rise of 3 degrees would affect everyone. Even wealthy cities and rich countries wouldn't be immune to the consequences. European capitals like Paris and Berlin would bake under more extreme heat waves. Frequent storm surges in New York could turn parts of the city desolate.
In many ways, cities magnify, intensify climate events. Cities are hotter than the places around them. They tend to be more vulnerable to flooding, and you can get a really bad event in a city in a way that you can't in the countryside.
And because of their denser populations, disasters in a city affect far more people.
Do you know why so many smart people never hit their full potential?
Right. I think we've had enough of the economist and their 3 degrees. Ah! If it rises, we're all doomed. Look, this person, their house got swept away by the river. Yeah, because they built it on a bloody riverbank. Shock, horror. Who'd have thought it, right? Yeah. I mean, yeah, totally never seen that coming. A lot of these places, they've built them on land that is known to be flooded anyway. But climate crisis, right? Yeah. Quickly, get the aeroplanes. There is an article, me and Sensum talked about it. They're pushing for 150 military aircraft to engage and stratospheric aerosol, injection. We got there. Let me see if I can find it quickly. I'm not going to find it because I'm looking for it, right? That would be the way of it. We're going to find it. How many aircraft did I say? 150. 125 it is. So it wasn't that far away. Oh, what have we got here? What's happened? Why did it go on a stupid Sky advert? I'll quickly share it, right? And then we'll wrap it up. I just done it, so I should remember. Man, it's getting late. We'll go with that. So you'll see I'm great at working the computer, right? I did say 150. I was a wee bit off. It wasn't quite. Why is this not working? There we go. Oh, helps if you go the right way. Yeah, me. Scientists propose controversial plan to refreeze North and South poles by spraying sulfur dioxide into the atmosphere. What? It's a shame they never wanted to anti-freeze it, because NASA have got the equipment for that, right? HARP can do that. Yeah. I think they're talking about now they've got equipment that can refreeze and make ice. They're also talking about that. But here they're referring to a fleet of 125 military air-to-air refueling tankers would release a cloud of microscopic sulfur dioxide particles at an altitude of 43,000 feet. Right. And a latitude of 60 degrees in both hemispheres, slightly shading the Earth's surface beneath. Hooray! Block out the sun. What can go wrong, right? I mean, it is completely insane that we're actually even at this point. But again, the flooding, the drought, putting on a jumper. Who wants to put on a jumper? And think about this. When you walk from one room into another and there's a difference in temperature, how bad is it? Is it really that bad if there's a 3 degree, a 5 degree swing? I mean, it's hardly even noticeable. And what is the global temperature? Is there even such a thing? I know there's regionalized temperatures all over right across the board. But a global temperature, what is that, an average of all the temperatures in the world? I guess it would be, right? And of course, if they want military aircraft to spray particles, they should look no further than NASA, because they've already got them. Shock horror. So this was quite recent, and again, it's being pushed. And the article we touched on was from yesterday or the day before now. And it's being pushed even more. I can tell you right now, it's going to happen unless we stop it. And to be honest, we need to stop it. But you've got entities like Bill Gates, NASA, the White House, The Economist, the mainstream media pushing it like it's God's gift. And they are trying to play God. And again, to what end? What's the purpose? What's the benefit of unintended consequences of the risk they are willing to take? The cheek to talk about children's future. Like we don't care. The cheek of it. Honestly. If they had any care whatsoever for the future, they would not even consider stratospheric aerosol injection or any form of geoengineering or weather tampering manipulation. They can ram the lot right up Bill Gates's you know what. In fact, I'll do it. I don't think there would be a shortage of people who would want to volunteer to do that job, to sort Bill Gates out. There'd be a queue from here to, I don't know, the next galaxy. Oh man, you would line up for a week for a ticket for that, right? Roll up, yeah. I would be first in the queue. So, I thought I would share that as well quickly. So we're going to wrap it up and we'll say cheerio. Bit of a long one. I think we went nearly the 3 hours, possibly. Yes, we came. Man. No, we came. Is that better? Probably not. So hello to Dardarius as well. Good to see you back again. And Wendy B, a pleasure to have you and great to see people are still here who have been here from the start. Fantastic. And our good friend Justine, the mother of the group, a pleasure to have you back again. And I've missed you all, to be honest. Next week, I'm going to be back again twice. So you'll be sick of seeing me next week. And then hopefully the week after. Of course, it's all depending on, I guess, life itself here in the rolling hills of Murrayshire. Who else? Sue. Yeah, good to see Sue back again. I never noticed the numbers there, so I apologise. But yeah, you could be right. Rich as well. A pleasure to see you back again. No Rich without Carmel, who is probably about somewhere, hopefully. Hoax as well. Good to see you back again. A pleasure to have you. Did I miss anyone else? Probably not. Lee as well. A pleasure to have you, Lee. Great stuff. Carmel, yes, our good friend from New Zealand. Right? The home of, I don't know, what's the All Blacks, I guess? Is that New Zealand's claim to fame? The All Blacks rugby team? Earthquakes, is that one of their claim to fames? I'm unsure. You'll have to fill me in. I guess what's Scotland's claim to fame? Haggis, maybe? Iron brew? Mints and tatties, we'll go with that. Of course, a lot of inventions have came from Scotland, but I won't blow my own trumpet, right? But hey, I guess I never invented them, so I can't say much. Certainly, a weather agency, if anything, but all in all, a deception agency. That's the bottom line when it comes to NASA. So good to see Wendy and everyone else. If I missed you, I do apologize. So like I said, hopefully I'll see you next week, possibly Monday, right? So don't say I never warned you. Sholand as well. There you go. Where did you go? Disappeared. There you go. Fake LOTR movies is what New Zealand is known for. What was that there? Let me see. There was a weird sound. I'm unsure. Fake movies. What's a fake movie? Aren't they all fake? The cheek of that Economist video to talk about the Hollywood movies as well. Quite fitting, right? Lord of the Rings, you can tell that I'm a Lord of the Rings fan, sure. I don't think I've watched any of them, to be honest. I think there was an actor from Harry Potter who died as well, a Scottish guy, the big lad, Robbie, I want to say. Cracker, I think he might have been in that. Taggart as well. I think he was in Still Game for one episode. He was a crazy bus driver, which he played quite well. A big lad, but a lot of people seem to be passing away in today's world. Before their time, I must add. But hey, we're not going to get into that tonight, right? I'm so full of good news. Of course, no one here is fooled by the true reality that we're in. So, thank you very much to everyone for jumping in tonight. I really do appreciate your time. I'll find a tune and then we'll wind down, and hopefully I can catch you all on the Monday, right? I'll see you on Monday night. So, get out there, enjoy your weekend, have a bit of fun, relax. Seek enjoyment, right? Don't be sitting and watching the TV, whatever you do. Do not watch the news. Don't be doing it. If you do, I'm going to have to come and find you. Honestly, we can't let you do that. And like I said, if you've got people you've not seen, go and see them. If you've got people that you feel you could maybe help out, help them out. You'll feel all the better for it. I can guarantee you that. And like I always say, never, ever, ever, ever live in fear. And whatever it is, wherever you are, do not comply. And that is about it. Bye-bye.
On the planet, but blinking, step into the sun. There's more to see, I can never be seen. More to do, I can never be done. There is far too much to take in, but the fight that can never be found. Hey, but the sun rolling high in the sapphire sky. He's great and small, but the earth is right, and the circles are pale, and it moves us all to despair and hope, faith and love, till we find a place on the path and find it. Some of us fall by the wayside, and some of us soar to the stars, and some of us sail through our trouble, and some have to live with the stars, and some say eat or be eaten.